Good morning, everyone. So today we will be talking about the topic blood-brain barrier. So let us say, what is blood-brain barrier? So it's basically a network of blood vessels and tissues that is made up of closely spaced cells and helps keep harmful substances from reaching the brain. It controls in a precise manner substances that can enter or leave the central nervous system. Now let us see about the structure of the blood-brain barrier. The central components of the structure of the blood-brain barrier are the tight junctions of the endothelial cells, the cells that make up the interior surface of the blood vessels. In other blood vessels throughout the body, there are small spaces between these endothelial cells. Small blood-borne substances can pass through these spaces and into surrounding tissues. The endothelial cells that make up the blood-brain barrier, however, are fused tightly together to form tight junctions that restrict diffusion across the blood vessel lining. Glial cells called astrocytes also have projections called astrocytic end feet that extend to the walls of blood vessels that are part of the blood-brain barrier. Astrocytic end feet often completely surrounds blood vessels on the brain and are thought to play critical roles in the function of the blood-brain barrier. Now this is a figure of blood vessel in blood-brain barrier. Now let us see how substances pass through the blood-brain barrier. A few water-soluble substances such as glucose cross the blood-brain barrier by active transport. Other substances such as creatinine, urea and most ions cross the blood-brain barrier very slowly. Whereas some other substances such as proteins and most antibiotic drugs do not pass at all from the blood into brain tissue. Lipid soluble substances such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, alcohol, and most anesthetic agents are able to access the brain tissue freely. Trauma, certain toxins, and inflammation can cause a breakdown of the blood brain barrier. Now, let us talk about the clinical connection of the blood brain barrier. Because it is so effective, the blood brain barrier prevents the passage of helpful substances as well as those that are potentially harmful. Researchers are exploring ways to more drugs that could be therapeutic for blood cancer or the CNS disorder that pass the blood-brain barrier. In one method, the drug is injected in a concentrated sugar solution. The high osmotic pressure at the sugar solution causes the endothelial cells of the capillaries to shrink, which opens gaps between their tight junctions, making the blood-brain barrier more leaky and allowing the drugs to enter the brain tissue. Now let us talk about the importance of blood-brain barrier or functions of the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier is a specialized system of brain microvascular endothelial cells, that is also called BMVEC, that shields the brain from toxic substances in the blood, supplies brain tissues with nutrients and filters harmful compounds from the brain back to the bloodstream. The close interaction between the BMVEC and other components of the neurovascular unit insurance proper function of the central nervous system. Transport across the blood-brain barrier is strictly limited through both physical and metabolic barriers. A functional polarity exists between the luminal and abdominal membrane surfaces of the BMVEC. As a result of restricted permeability, the blood-brain barrier is a limiting factor for the delivery of the therapeutic agents into the central nervous system. Blood-brain barrier breakdown or alterations in transport systems play an important role in the pathogenesis of many central nervous system diseases. So that's it for blood-brain barrier, and thank you and have a nice day.